Good morning, everybody.
Hey, Rod, good to know it works.
It's always good to know technology works because it doesn't happen very often.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for the lateness of getting Rotary started. Our board meeting went a little bit longer, so I'm going to stall a little bit just to let people get into the meeting.
So Steve, you're warm or you're retired. How come you didn't go south?
It's called COVID.
Oh,
I got my first shot last week.
did you? Mark got his Saturday. I got mine about 10 days ago.
Jamie's going for her second dose Thursday.
Yeah, this is one advantage to getting old. Get the shot.
Well, normally these weeks were weeks we canceled, we'd be in Cabo. So
How long have you gone to in Mexico?
between 8 and 12 weeks.
Oh, wow. Yeah, Ray, how come you've never gone south? Are you too busy fishing?
It's the first year we haven't.
That's
Just because of COVID, we're just being very careful. But we usually go down by Clearwater. But I've got friends down there and they say people in Florida are absolutely just ignoring the masking requirements. It's pretty scary down there. So I'll stay here where we're all locked in, where it's 20 below, 25 below every night. At least we're not running into anybody.
You wonder if it kills the bug.
I don't think so.
yeah, those masks are good for something this
Yeah.
time of year. Mark's whining. He got his shot on Saturday and he said he got it with a square needle.
You know, I did have no problems of any kind.
He was told if you have any reaction that it might be because you've had COVID, which I thought was interesting. He got that from the nurse that gave it to him. But that's the first time I'd heard that.
That is interesting.
I was fortunate, no problems at all.
So you've gotten it too.
And number 2 is coming up the March 2nd.
Yeah,
Ooh,
maybe
you got
just
it.
out of curiosity. I'm kind of curious, just a show of hands, who's had at least their first shot? So it looks about half of us.
Well, we're all old. We're essential.
Well,
It's called
Jennifer,
junior JCs where the young people are hanging out.
fortunately, I was scheduled for my annual wellness checkup at the VA, and I called to confirm the appointment. And I said, "Say, you got an extra vaccine around when I'm there for blood work?" And they said, "Come on down."
Nice.
But I gave 2 years of my life to have that option too, as a vet.
Well, good for all of you who have been able to at least have the first vaccination. I know in the city of Brainerd, a lot of our police officers and firefighters have because they were in that phase 1. So
Daycare providers seem to have that same option, and my daughter fills in if there's she has a friend that has daycare, and Erin is kind of the emergency backup, and she was eligible for vaccination.
very nice.
My daughter plays varsity girls hockey, and she just got notified last night that their whole team has to quarantine for 14 days. So someone on the other team tested positive.
What city?
Osseo Park Center.
I will say I went in last week for my first COVID shot, and Crow Wing County is doing an outstanding job with the whole rollout. It was so smooth, very quick. The longest, I didn't have to wait for anything. The only thing you wait for is after you get the shot, you have to wait 15 minutes, but they did a phenomenal job.
Good to hear.
The VA was the same way. There were 25, 50 people in the lobby and they just pop, 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 went right through. And then you had the 15-minute wait.
Very nice.
For those of you 65 and older that haven't gotten it, you know, you can go online to a lot of the pharmacies now and schedule an appointment with Thrifty White or Walgreens, or I got my shot at Walmart Pharmacy on Friday.
Well, all right. I'm going to go ahead and call our meeting to order.
Jennifer, you notice that I figured out the camera?
I know it's really nice to see your friendly face, Mark.
Okay.
All right, if you would all join me in reciting the four-way test. Things we think,
Nothing
say,
we
or
think,
do.
say or do. Is it the truth?
Is it fair?
Is it
Fair to all concerned?
Will it
Will
build
it build goodwill and better
friendships?
friendships?
Will it be
Will be
beneficial
beneficial to all
to all
concerned?
concerned? Thank you. I'll be really glad when we're doing this. February is our month, and Brett is doing our invocation for the month of February. Brett.
Absolutely. Well, with the smaller group here, I'll just share one thing quick. I've been focusing a lot on the word perfect as I think about grandbabies and going through my pictures of flying sunsets and, you know, and how often we use that word a bit casually. And then I came across a passage in Matthew that says, "Be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect." And I thought, how do we do that? You know, how can we possibly be that? And I think of, as I look at the screen here with our Rotarians, and I can't think of a more moral bunch of people that I know than what I'm looking at right now. And yet, you know, we are not perfect. And I'm just so reminded of what Christ did for us on the cross that allows us to be perfect in God's eyes through his Son. So I just wanted to share that. Let's pray. Father, thank you for your love for us. Thank you for sending your Son, Jesus, in our place so that we can be viewed perfect in your eyes through him. Thank you for that gift. Thank you for this group of Rotarians. Thank you for what they do here and around the world. And we are just so blessed by the example that we see here. Help us to be Christ-like. Help us to be whole. Help us to be complete. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that story, Brett. All right. Introduction of guests. Kind of looking around here. Past District Governor Rick Bricker. I do not see Rick on the call with us. Assistant District Governor Don Peterson. I don't think I see Don, which is first time. And then our District Executive Secretary, Gloria Menk. Do not see Gloria. And District Crisis Committee, Don Ryan, and District Training Committee member, Jill Carlson. And again, thanks to those who serve at the district level. Are there any other guests with you today? Sometimes we have even a dog or a cat. Any other guests? Anybody have a guest? All right, seeing or hearing none, I will move us into Rotary related announcements. I have a couple, but I think I'll open it up to the group first. Are there any Rotary related announcements?
Yes, I'd like to make one from the
Go ahead,
foundation.
Mike.
We're very, very happy to announce that our new board member of the Brainerd Rotary Foundation is our own Julie Anderholm. So we welcome Julie to the foundation board. Technically, she will serve out the end of Scott Hubert's current term. Scott's spending a lot of time in Wilmer with the Mills Auto Group, and he's not able to participate in either Rotary or the foundation. So Julie will finish out that term and then be eligible for appointment, election to other terms going forward. So it's really nice too to have now a complement of 3 female members among our group, and we're thank you, Julie. We're happy to have you on board.
All right, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Julie. Other Rotary related announcements. Well, I'll go ahead and jump in with a couple that I have. Is there any update on the Easter egg hunt? Heather, do you have anything? Does anybody know any more about the Easter egg hunt?
Well, I sent an email to Paula because I'm not sure what happened in the foundation meeting last week, if the grant was approved. Mike?
It was.
It was? Okay, so I've been in contact with Katie and we're working out a plan, and I will let her know that that was approved.
Great. All right, and then the couple of announcements I have, Trevor did ask me to announce, he wasn't sure if he would be here on time, that we do have a couple of positions that he's going to be looking for his term as president. New Generations Youth is one, and then also our PR committee. Just a reminder that Dan Hagstead is retiring and also will be retiring from the board as well. So looking for somebody to do PR, and specifically looking for somebody who can set up the speakers. Again, a fun job. So if there's anybody interested, please reach out to me or Trevor. March 16th, as I have mentioned, we are slated to be doing the outreach of Brainerd, packaging of meals. I'm hoping that Heather's going to be sending out an email this afternoon. I'll just give you a little more detail on it. They are looking for, they have 3 lines, and we're looking for up to 24 people on those lines to be able to package the meals. It will be March 16th from noon until 1:30, and we will be in Nisswa. So I would really, really like to see if we can't fill all 3 lines, which means we would need a minimum of 18 people to volunteer. I know a few of you have reached out to me saying that you are interested. Lee, I know you were one of them. I think Carol was one of them. But if you could respond to Heather's email, I just want to make sure that we don't miss anybody. So again, instead of meeting for Rotary on March 16th, instead we'll be doing a service project. So any questions about that? Well, thank you for your willingness to do this, and I try something a little bit different. I think it's really important as Rotarians that we do service projects, not only for Rotary, but outside of Rotary as well.
Is there a location for that?
There is. It will, Heather, I don't know if I included that in my draft email. I can send you that information as well.
Would the Roundhouse Brewery be a good place?
No, they have a setup there. Maybe the Roundhouse Brewery could be, for those of you who are retired, an after place.
I know, after. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. I'll make sure that that address is in the email. I think that's all I have for Rotary related announcements. This is a club meeting today, so before we do our Rotary Notary, I will spend some time just letting the Rotarians know what we did at the board meeting today. But before we do that, I am going to turn it over to Andy Rangan, our Sergeant at Arms. Andy.
All right, so We've got a couple things today. One is February birthdays. So it looks like Brian Thuringer, at the end of this month, Nancy Hall, Rod Osterloh, John Landsberg, all February birthdays. So not a huge list, but got a short month. So maybe that's part of it. And then this one is anniversaries in Rotary. So if you're one of these folks and you're here, set aside $1. Let's do that. Jim Thompson, 1 year. Michelle Francis, 1 year. Shane Riffle, 3 years. Jim McBreen, 5 years. Kevin Thiesing, 28 years. Rod Rangan, 22 years. And Mark Halverson, 48 years. That's awesome. And then it sounds like we're getting towards the end of this cold snap here. I had a couple of, one of my staff members went down to Texas for the winter to work from Texas. I think he was greeted with a snowstorm and he said it's minus 14 there today. So that wasn't quite getting away like he's been anticipating. No power, no internet, any of that type of stuff. So kind of hopefully we're coming out of the cold snap here. That being said, I'm going to share my screen. I got a couple pictures and then I'll open it up if anybody else wants to get ready. Last week was the virtual bike race out at Cuyuna. They picked the coldest possible week to encompass that. It was the previous Friday through Sunday. I don't think it actually got above 0 at all during this, but through Sunday. So I went and did it on Friday. Here was the route for the 15K. This is that's the before picture. So, covered everything, covered, multi-layered, the whole 9 yards. It was -9 at the start with a -24 feels like, and that's the after. Yes, that was goggles froze up, face mask, but made it through. So it was a fun event. I think I didn't look at the recent. I think there were maybe 150 people who have done it so far in the span of that time. So it's a virtual event, a fundraiser, pretty cool adaptation that people can go do it whenever they want. Now, of course, you don't really want to do it at all during any of those times, but a pretty neat adaptation that some of the bike races have made there. So I'll open it up to anyone else who wants to share a picture or share a happy dollar.
So Andy, I have one. Is John Forrest? I'm looking to see if John is here. Okay, I do not see John. Is Dan Hegstead here? He was at the board meeting. Well, I might be paying back-to-back happy dollars because this is really going to be lost if Dan Hegstead isn't here. If you may recall, Dan, I think, was looking for an RV, and John Forrest said that he had one. And he asked me to share it with the group. And so, sorry, you're probably going to see this next week too. But that is the camper that John wanted to share with Dan. I think he could get it pretty cheap. So anyway.
As long as he doesn't park it on Pine View Drive, I'll be happy. I won't have to talk to
Mark, I wasn't even going to editorialize at all.
Wow.
I'll share my screen. I'm afraid Brett mentioned we're such a group that is morally good. Well, we used to go up to Winnipeg as a group for district-wise, and we did a 40s theme one year, or 20s theme one year. And this was Pete Nelson. He's grinning from ear to ear, but I have some old pictures, and I thought you guys would get a kick out of seeing some of these old pictures. So here's Pete and Penny and Jill, and I forget the woman in the blue, and then I'm hiding in the background, but I thought you'd get a kick out of that. So I'll pay $1.
Fun.
Those were the days at Winnipeg. Bus at US Bank parking lot. The bar did not open until the bus started turning its wheels. And it didn't close till they turned the ignition off, probably at Reichert's. Those were the days, right, Paula?
Oh yeah, we did have a good time, and anything that happened in Winnipeg stayed in Winnipeg, and it needed to stay there.
That doesn't even happen anymore, does it, as far as an event?
Actually, they've been holding it down in Detroit Lakes the last couple of years, but they're doing it at a different time of year. It kind of went away. We'd go up we'd go up and we'd curl on Friday. We'd go up on Thursday. They'd do a play Thursday night. Friday, they would curl. Saturday, we had our things, but we had hospitality suites. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and trust me, those were, we knew how to enjoy ourselves.
On my wife's office wall is a trophy from the Bonspiel. She subbed, or I guess that's the term, on a Winnipeg team. It was all male. I had a problem with that, so she subbed on the Winnipeg team, and she's had a trophy on her wall for the last 20 years.
Anyone else have anything to share?
I have a happy dollar. And that is that we are excited today because our middle school and high school kids came back to school. So we are pretty thrilled. We are having a very happy day in Brainerd today, even though it was very cold, and I felt sorry for the kids waiting outside, but I don't think they even cared today. So it was really joyful to be at the schools this morning and have them coming back.
Great. Anyone else? Very good. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Andy. So Steve Scherner is going to be our Rotary Notary today. But before that, I just wanted to go over a little bit of the agenda from our board meeting from this morning. So a couple of things. We did have a discussion about in-person meetings going back once again. At this point, I think we have decided we're going to delay to the fourth quarter of our year, April, May, June. And one of the things that we talked about is one of the challenges was making sure that we didn't order too much for food and we ended up paying more. So we may be trying an RSVP model where we'll ask people if they're going to be attending. And there has been some discussion about whether it's at Dennis Drummond or if we are going to try the woods as we had initially intended. But at least for now, I think one of the things we're hearing is that while we're starting to get a lot of people who are being vaccinated, there's still some concern about increasing cases here in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So I know me, for one, I'm looking forward to seeing you all in person, and I sure hope that in April, May, and June, we are able to do that. We did accept the resignation of Scott Hubert today with regret. His job has just taken him away more than he's here. So he said that at this time he's going to resign from Rotary, but is hoping to join later again in the future. We had a pretty long discussion about peach sales proceeds, and I'm not going to get into all of the details. It's very complicated and convoluted as to whether or not that should be held at the club or held at the foundation. If we want to get a matching grant, that's a matching grant to the club, but yet when people make donations, they want it to be tax deductible, which has to be at the foundation. I think we came up with a really great solution. So again, not necessary to talk about all the details. We also discussed the possibility of creating a Venmo account. I know it was brought up last week. Christy Westbrook had suggested that maybe we look at Venmo. We are currently using PayPal. We think that there is probably a little bit of a learning curve. Venmo, I don't know, for those of you who use Venmo, it's really nice and easy on a personal level. I think we just want to make sure that we're checking some things on a corporate level, making sure that we take a look at that. But the goal is to ultimately eliminate our PayPal account and move to a Venmo model, which seems to be a lot more user-friendly. And also learned this morning that actually our PayPal account is under the name of a previous treasurer, and both Bill Potvin and Jim McBreen have tried to get that out of that person's name and into the club's name. So been a little bit of a challenge with that as well. But hopefully you'll start seeing what we've decided is that the board is going to start by just kind of testing Venmo. We may pay our happy dollars through Venmo so Jim McBreen can have a chance to kind of learn it and we can figure out how it works before we open it up and make that transition. So just a heads up on that. And I guess okay, I do see that. Will Venmo for peach sales cause complications? Thanks for bringing that up, Paula. We will make sure that we look into that as well. Any questions on the board meeting? Anybody have any questions?
I will just add in there with the peach sales. Those are done through the foundation. So the foundation's PayPal account will still be there. It's a separate PayPal account than the club. So there shouldn't be any issue there.
Thanks for that clarification, Heather. All right, seeing nothing else or nobody with any questions. Steve has agreed to be our Rotary notary today. And so with that, Steve, I'm just going to turn it over to you and thanks for agreeing to do this.
Well, thanks for letting me. I'm going to share my screen at the moment. Heather taught me how to do that this morning. Okay, here we go. Here we go. The reason we're in Brainerd, Minnesota is the families. My daughter's family's on the right with our little guy TJ, and my son's family's on the left. My daughter's family lives in Baxter. My son's family's Maple Grove. They were both driving 3.5 to 4 hours to get their house in Wisconsin, so it made sense for us to move closer to them. They're much busier than we are these days. This is the rest of our family, Gizmo and Whiskey. Whiskey was a puppy when I showed him to you there in May or June at one of the meetings, and he's grown up quick. Little background, I was raised in a small farming community in upstate New York called Artport, about 700 people. Rural area, farming area, so my passions were scouting, sports, hunting, fishing, camping, all those sorts of things, everything you do outdoors. I was part of a graduating class of 43 on the K-12 school. I married my high school sweetheart. We've been dating since we were sophomores, Jane. We're still married today. I got my associate's degree from Alfred State University and then went and got my bachelor's in engineering from RIT. This is the house where I grew up, and that's in the backyard of the house. You can see the high school roof. We lived adjacent to the school, so that's a K-12 school. I took an engineering job with Minnesota Power in 1973. My wife and son moved here with me. During my career, I happened to be there at the time of the taconite company's expansions. So I first led the planning of the power system. Then I was able to lead the construction of the new system. And later I got the job of operating and maintaining it. So we're overseeing that. One of the jobs I really enjoyed at Minnesota Power was working with the dozen large industrial customers that Minnesota Power serves, the paper mills and taconite plants. They are actually 50% of Minnesota Power's load in sales. I moved up the ranks there over the years. Never held a job where I used a box of business cards. Retired after 30 years as a senior VP. At my retirement party, I was approached by a former coworker about doing consulting, and I said no. And after a few months of retirement, I got a little bored, so then I decided to try it. I've worked with a number of Midwest and Canadian utilities, independent power producers, and large industrial customers. I've worked for the Nashwauk Public Utilities Commission since 2006 on the Usser project, which is now Mesabi Metallic, which I think next month may get off the ground again and construction may start up in May. This definitely will be my last client. As far as Rotary, I joined at Skyline in 1986. Then my work schedule caused me to transfer to Harbortown Rotary in the early 90s. I became a Paul Harris Fellow, and after that, made my grandmother, my father, and my wife ones as well. Between 2010 and 2019, I did a number of projects in Haiti. Actually, Brainerd Club helped sponsor a couple of them. One of those years, I won the award for international service at the district level. And I will be doing a presentation on the work in Haiti on March 30th, if you're interested. What are my hobbies? Well, hunting and fishing, as I said. That's my grandson's first marlin in Cabo last year. We love to travel. This happened to be on our 50th anniversary when we were doing a Mediterranean cruise, and that's in Crete. I do play golf, and right at the moment, I'm in the process of teaching my grandson to play golf. He loves it. Most important to us is family time. On the left side are pictures from Cabo. Both of our families come yearly, except this year, and stay with us there. On the left, we have a lake home on Eagle Lake here, out by Noke Lake, off of County 8. And so the grandkids were here, and we had a pontoon parade on the 4th of July. Whoops. How do I go back? Sorry about that. One last one. COVID projects. Like most of you, we've stayed pretty isolated, especially at our age. Obviously, one project was training a new puppy. I've never had a pointing dog before. So Whiskey's been in training mode. I refinished desk and chair for my grandson for doing schoolwork at home. I pulled out the carpet and put in new plank flooring in our den. My wife came home with a picture of a coffee table about 3 weeks ago, and a couple of days I knocked out the coffee table you see there in the living room. Right now, the project I've been on is we've sorted 7 bins of old snapshots that included 50 albums, including her parents' albums. And I've been doing work on ancestry, setting up a tree for my side of the family. And it's been going pretty well, loaded it with pictures, made contact with several relatives that I've never even knew about and talked to before. And actually been able to trace one lineage of our family back to the last religious martyr burnt at the fire at a stake in England by order of the king, because he was a Baptist minister and a Catholic king. And his family then moved to Rhode Island and started the first Baptist church of Rhode Island in 1654. So been interesting. So that's a bit about me. Happy to answer any questions. I'm glad to be able to do this because even though I've been in the club for 2 years with COVID and that, I don't really feel like I've gotten the chance to socialize and know a lot of you yet. So that's who I am.
Thanks for doing this, Steve. It's always interesting to hear. I don't know, I have a couple, I have a comment and I have a question. My comment is, and I couldn't help but laugh. I love typos. And if you happen to notice that your typo on your graduating class said that you were party of the class of 3.
We were a partying class.
I love that it said party instead of part. I think it made it that much better. My question is your nationality. So you said you traced yourself back to England.
England, a lot of German, in our ancestry, a little bit of Norwegian or Scandinavian. Matter of fact, one family line is Reitman, and they think that's because relatives came in, well, William the Conqueror from Norwegian region into the island of Reit, and that's where that name started. So there's some interesting stuff if you know, Ancestry really has a lot of documentation in that, and when you get into the old census stuff and marriage records and that, you can really figure out quite a bit of ancestry.
That's so interesting. I see a lot of people doing that. Seems almost like a rabbit hole. You just keep going and going and going. Very fascinating. Other questions of Steve?
Oh, I gotta ask Steve, did you ever get up to Winnipeg for the parties that were held the convention that was held in February?
No, and I never really did much of the district level stuff. I did go to the one in Cloquet when we were helping sponsor it the one year and worked, but
Because
I was always too busy working to be much of a party guy.
the Riley, I forget what his name was. He used to take the bus with us. He'd drive down here to grab the bus with us to go up to Winnipeg. from
Mary and
years.
Larry Riley.
Yeah, yeah. We used to come, Daryl and his other brother Daryl, because he had the other guy, and they were a couple characters.
Well, the Harbor Town group was a pretty much a partying group, and still some of them are. Mike Cochran and I actually made one of the trips to Haiti, and he's involved with the district stuff, I know. Other questions? If not, if you're looking for someone to golf with anytime this spring, give me a call.
Steve, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Your hunting dog, is that a poodle pointer?
A puddle pointer. Yeah.
Puddle pointer.
P-U-D-L-E pointer. Yeah, it's a German breed.
Where did you find him?
Actually, there's a breeder up on the Iron Range in Iron, Minnesota, but his sire comes from a place called Rock Creek, and they have several national champion dogs out of Rock Creek. So we're going to trials in May to see what his natural abilities are.
Yeah, cool.
And then Steve, I have one more question. So you said you moved from Wisconsin up to Brainerd.
Yeah.
So, but it looks like you worked mostly in Minnesota, right? What brought you to Wisconsin?
Let's see, 3 extra weeks of summer on the south side of Lake Superior, a sand bottom lake, and we'd always wanted to live in a lake. So we were 25 miles out of Superior. It wasn't a bad drive. And with cell phones and all that, you know, you could still keep working, going and coming. And it's kept our family, us living on a lake has kept both of our families coming home on a regular basis to be with us. So it's worked for us.
Great, thank you.
All right, well, thank you all.
Well, with that, again, with a club meeting, just Rotary Notary, not a formalized presentation. Steve, we look forward to your Haiti presentation here in a month and a half or so. Thanks for agreeing to do that also. Is there any other business to come before Rotary? With that, it looks like I'm going to give you back 20 minutes of your day. Probably that 20 minutes where we would normally eat. Have a wonderful week, and I am looking forward to temperatures in the 30s this weekend. It's gonna feel like spring, so enjoy your week. We'll see you on Tuesday.